The St. Pete Times Forum in Tampa, where surprises have ruled the day. Now we're set to heat up the floor tonight as the Duke Blue Devils, who have won 23 of their last 24 ACC tournament games, get set to meet the Wolfpack of North Carolina State in the 54th annual ACC tournament. Waters of Tampa Bay, the ACC this season has churned on top, with some surprises breaking through to the surface and the youthful Tar Heels making the most waves. It's been muddy in the middle. What the devil is Duke doing there? And hovering near the bottom, dangerous schools of predators ready to attack.
I left my home in Georgia, heading down to Tampa Bay, sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time, yeah.
While the tide rolls away, they battle for the championship of the ACC. Tampa, Florida, the site of the 54th annual ACC tournament. The hugging will stop in about 5 minutes. You're watching ESPN's coverage of Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. And it is the ACC tournament, the matchup, the number 21 Blue Devils of Duke against the Wolfpack of North Carolina State. You take a look at the ACC tournament bracket already this afternoon. Miami a winner over Maryland, and Florida State beat Clemson, so they go on. Clemson to beat North Carolina. Miami goes on to play Boston College. The winner of this one meets second-seeded Virginia tomorrow, and the nightcap tonight, Georgia Tech and Wake Forest will do battle to see who takes on the Hokies. Welcome, everybody. I'm Brad Nessler with Jimmy Dykes. If you stay with the water theme, partner, this is almost uncharted waters for Duke. You have to go back 12 years when Duke has had to play on the first day of the ACC tournament. They come in as a number 7 seed. They also come in shorthanded.
It's kind of been their theme all season long, though, hasn't it, really? When you look at Duke's season right now, and according to Coach K about an hour ago, never a dull moment if you're the head coach of the Duke Blue Devils. And they go at it tonight without Gerald Henderson because of, boom, the hard intentional foul right there. Gerald Henderson will serve a 1-game suspension tonight, and all of a sudden the Duke bench that was not deep anyways becomes even shorter and is no longer a lock to advance in this tournament up against North Carolina State.
Henderson could play tomorrow if Duke was able to advance. He can't sit on the bench either. There he is in the tie and the sport coat, and he'll have to watch from that vantage point. Jimmy, what does that do to Duke tonight against North Carolina State?
You know, Duke has struggled to score the basketball this year, Brad, and this is a guy that has really come on in the last 2 weeks. He's providing about 8 points a game off the bench, so now the bench doesn't have the productivity. Coach K has to use a guy like Potsus, maybe even try to shorten the game himself a little bit, which could play right in to NC State's hands.
Let's take a look at our Star Watch, our American Century Star Watch, and Engen Atsur is part of that, playing in his final ACC tournament. He didn't play in the first game, or the only game, I should say, in the regular season against Duke. He'll make a big difference. Greg Paulus has really started to come on, and Duke's going to need his leadership, though he's only a sophomore. Let's take a look at the starting lineups. First for Sidney Lowe's Wolfpack of North Carolina State. Here's how it goes in the backcourt. Engen Atsur and Courtney Fells, the guards. And up front, Grant McCauley and Brandon Costner, who is on the all-rookie team. And for Mike Krzyzewski, a young team. Paulus, Shire, DeMarcus Nelson's their leading scorer. And up front, David McClure gets the start for Henderson with Josh McRoberts. So for the 23rd time, these two teams get together in an ACC tournament. 1-8 in the last 9 against Duke, and Duke's won 7 of the last 8 ACC tournaments. They have won 23 of the last 24 games they've played in this event. Brian Kersey's going to throw it in the air, and here we go from Tampa, Florida. And all the way down the court and out of bounds. Sidney Lowe in his first year as a head coach at NC State. Sid's done a nice job with, as Jimmy said, a very limited squad, not much of a bench at all. Due to guys going to the NBAs, guys that went to baseball. Mike Krzyzewski's been around and been in 27 of these ACC tournaments. 42-15 in the ACC tourney. And the officials right off the bat are trying to decide whose ball it's going to be. Bernard Clinton and Tim Nestor, the other two officials, along with Brian Kersey.
That's the longest it's taken all year to decide who controlled the opening tap.
No team has gone 4 straight to win the tournament since the conference expansion. So Duke's going to have to play themselves out of a hole they're never in. And they have the ball first. And right off the inbounds play, the three-pointer doesn't go for DeMarcus Nelson, but it's kept alive. And now Duke will set its offense on top with Paulus.
When kept alive by McClure, who has more rebounds and field goal attempts. He's a guy that knows his role on this Duke club.
Atzur knocks it away from Paulus. No over and back call because it was last touched by NC State.
Paulus has really played, hasn't he? Averaging 20 over the last 3.
Yep. He was part of the problem in their mid-season swoon. Just too many turnovers, and Paulus was part of the reason, but he has played a lot better recently. Courtney Fells picks up the first foul. You know, you talk about Duke. They started off 6-1, and everybody said, well, that's just Duke. They were 18-3, and then boom. Then the stock market started to crash on them. Down to 18-7, and now 22-9. A number 7 seed and ranked 21st in the country.
Well, when you're coaching Duke's youngest team since 1946, your stock is going to go up and down a little bit throughout the season. And Coach K told us before the ball game, he said, with such a young team, and my young guys have gotten tired over the last month. And I said, Coach, that would be your whole team.
That's
then.
Exactly
he
right.
said, you know what? You're right. That would be my whole team has gotten tired.
Well, he's got Paulus and McRoberts, sophomores, who are captains, and that's never happened in the 102-year history of Duke basketball, that 2 sophomores would be captains. And some backcourt pressure on NC State.
A lot of clubs try to pressure Ingan, the primary and maybe only true ball handler NC State can put on the floor.
Dribbles into a double team on the baseline and threw it away. Duke looking to run, and they give it right back. McCauley with the steal.
10 games in a row now, Brad. NC State has had more turnovers than their opponents, and those opponents have converted that into 16 points. They can't have more turnovers than Duke in this ball game.
You know, when you go back to the game at the RBC Center, 79-56 in the regular season, Atzur didn't play in that game, but Duke forced NC State into 20 turnovers, and the Wolfpack only shot 34% in that game. And you can never win a ball game with that many turnovers and that poor of shooting. As McCauley knocks it down on the baseline to tie it at 2.
They do a great job, in my estimation, NC State, of making the right pass, not the extra pass, but the right pass. Got him 2 points on that possession.
DeMarcus Nelson has really had a great season, almost doubled his point production from a year ago. The junior lobs it, and the slam by McRoberts.
You know, that's a set play, some kind of false motion up top with a 3-man weave and the ball screen to get your eyes up top, and they slip McRoberts to the rim. Beautifully executed.
Here's Costner down low. Doesn't connect, and Nelson with a rebound.
And NC State must be great on their first shot offense because they only average 7 offensive rebounds a game.
First time they played Duke this year, they only had 14 field goals. They're already off to a better start in this one, and here's an offensive foul on McRoberts.
The previous possession, though, was a thing of beauty for Duke. Again, the 3-man weave action up top, and all it's doing is attracting the red jerseys to the basketball. McRoberts then reads it, and a terrifically thrown pass to the left side of the rim. You don't throw lobs at the rim. You throw them about 1.5 feet to the side, right on key.
Atzur got a screen from Costner, and now trying to work against McClure. Gets it to Costner on the low block. And a turnover again. McCauley walked with it.
He had some success in this tournament as a player, didn't he, Sidney Lowe?
Yes, he did, especially in '83 when they went all the way through and all the way through to the national championship. Last 10 games, 15 turnovers, 2 already here early, and another offensive foul.
ACC tournament MVP, Sidney Lowe, back in 1983. And he kept his club in that Maryland locker room over the weekend. He's not happy with their performance, not happy with their effort. And he said, I don't know about you guys, but as an NC State former player, we're going to Tampa with a purpose. And he addressed them pretty harshly for about 30 minutes in that locker room after their last loss.
Media had to wait, didn't they?
Yes, they did. As well they should have to.
3 minutes in. McCauley looking for some help. Doesn't want to turn it over again. Off the glass, tie ball game. Nice shot by Courtney Fells.
It was a tough 2. They get some tough 2s to fall. That makes them even better because they can really stick 3-point shots.
Atzur is the leading active three-point shooter right now in the ACC tournament. 211 career threes. McClure on the drive, missed. The rebound off to McCauley. And NC State has a chance to lead for the first time.
I think Duke will try to crash those offensive boards because NC State not a threat to rip and run the other direction on you. You can crowd the offensive glass against the Wolfpack.
Atzur taking another three. This one's off the mark. Marcus Nelson drives, and the teardrop will fall. 4 for Nelson.
Under control was Nelson because he's a guy, Brad, if he has to bounce it 3 or 4 times into his shot, he can get a little loose with his handle. He pulled up that time under control.
Costner, and 1. McRoberts is going to pick up his second foul, and that's not good news for Duke.
Number 2, Josh McRoberts, his second, third team.
Neither
Tied
team,
at 6. Jimmy.
Neither team, Brad, with a long bench in this ball game. Costner seeks the contact with the ball in his hands. Big play early.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's. And in part by a new kind of crossover vehicle, the all-new Kia Rondo. Kia, the power to surprise.
You want to talk about a perfect day and a beautiful night in Tampa, Florida. Aerial coverage courtesy of the Outback Steakhouse Airship. The Bloomin' Onion won. And Duke tied right now with NC State, but they have dominated this ACC tournament in the last 9 years. They won 7 regular season and 7 of the last 8 tournament titles. It doesn't seem to matter who's been wearing the jersey from Shane Battier on. Great players, Boozer, Williams last year, Alcione, and of course J.J. Redick last year, along with Sheldon Williams, 2-time player of the year, and Sheldon 2-time defensive player of the year. They've won 23 of the last 24 games in this tournament. That's not too bad.
Brad, this league, they judge themselves by how do you do against Duke and how closely can we narrow the gap. And the gap has been narrowed a little bit in this league. Again, Coach K with the youngest team he's had since 1946, a big reason why. McRoberts on the bench early is not a good sign for Duke.
With Zubak and Thomas both in there now. So the bench just got shorter. We marked down 15:53 when McRoberts picked up his second foul. Brandon Costner doesn't capitalize on the three-point opportunity. So we stayed deadlocked at 6. Shire hasn't touched it much yet early.
Duke not great off the bounce as far as just breaking you down from 20 feet and getting to the rim. Rely on their system to get looks.
Paulus and a bump before the shot. Foul's going to be on Neiman, who had just checked in for NC State.
Brad, you've done this tournament more than I have, the ACC, but what a terrific facility, an outstanding job Tampa has done. The ACC still, again, the granddaddy of them all, has a Final Four feel to it, does this city right now.
Boy, and the in-state teams did pretty well today, didn't they?
Oh, wow.
If you missed it, Miami shocked Maryland 67-62, and Florida State over Clemson. So the state schools in the ACC tournament in their home states doing awfully well this afternoon.
Duke over the years has just been terrific at pressuring that point and denying the wings. Maybe don't have the foot speed and the quickness to do it as well as they like to this year.
Costner into Fells. Fells reverse layup. NC State leads for the first time.
They are so good at cutting hard with a purpose and cutting all the way and sticking their head underneath the net. They don't give up on their cuts, NC State. You better defend them to that final point.
8-6 Wolfpack. Shire loses the handle. This is going to be a coast-to-coaster for Fells.
NC State, a team that does not want to run back and forth. So anything they get off of their defense to offense is a cherry on the sundae for them.
Duke's already got 5 turnovers. We were talking about NC State being turnover prone. And it's Duke having the same trouble they had earlier in the season. Paulus to pull up from about 17, and he got it.
I think he's the best shooter at the point guard spot that Coach K has ever had. had a lot on his plate. He certainly embraced the role of a Duke point guard when he could have thrown in the towel in mid-January. He stayed in love with the position.
Oh, what a nice dish, and I mean an easy dish to Costner from McCauley.
And Brett, they will pick you apart now on those off-ball screens and off-ball cuts. And they go one at a time. It's in rhythm. They move with a purpose.
Paulus trying to break down Neiman. He'll try a heat check, and he's got back-to-back jumpers. Paulus, who in the last 4 games has averaged 18.5 and 52% from the floor, buries a couple of outside jumpers to keep Duke within 2.
I talked about him embracing the role as a Duke point guard, which I still think is the most high-profile position in college sports, along with the quarterback at Notre Dame and the quarterback at Southern Cal, is the point guard at Duke.
31 minutes corner at the Wolfpack.
There's the numbers in the last 9 games, so it goes back a ways. He's been playing a lot better the second half of the season. NC State turns it over, and Duke's got a chance to tie this trip. Even knowing that Paulus has hit 2 jumpers on him and a switch off and ball out of bounds. Sidney Lowe, the head coach, says, wait a minute, thought it was ours.
Back in state.
And that's what he's letting Bernard Clinton know about. Engenatsur comes back in for NC State.
To me, one of the great measures of any true point guard, the offense should look different when you're not on the floor. For NC State, there's not a better example in the country than that. When Atzer is not on the floor, the offense looks completely different.
Absolutely. Nelson got his man to drop his guard, but missed the jumper, and Costner will clear it.
So think about it. Zubek has to check in off the bench now because of McRoberts instead of a guy like Henderson. So you're getting 1 point instead of 9 points out of Henderson on the floor.
And now Zubek's got foul trouble of his own. McRoberts, who's been out since the 15:53 mark, so it's been over 3 minutes already, and McClure comes back in for Duke. Shire will get a rest.
Gerald Henderson was scoring 1 point every 2.5 minutes that he was on the floor. That's how productive he's been in the last month.
What a great dish by Costner to Clark. Boy, you can't have a better pass than that one from the big man.
You know what? Costner and McCauley, the inside guys for NC State, they play the game one pass ahead. The same mentality as a point guard. Atzer, McCauley, and Costner, they're all point guards on the floor for the Wolfpack.
Remember when I said NC State only shot 34% the first time these two teams played? Wolfpack has hit its last 7 in a row.
But why? Because they're getting much better shots because of the calming influence of Ingen Atzer. He's the engine, the tone setter. There it is again.
Costner for 3, airmailed it to Nelson on the backside. And Nelson, the pass ahead, McClure leaning in. Can't get the shot to drop. And the rebound, last touch by whom? It'll be still Duke ball.
22.
Krzyzewski going to his bench with Lance Thomas again coming in for Zubek.
I like what he did with his team this year, though. Coach K did not let anyone, media, what other teams were doing to his ball club influence how he and his staff handled his kids. He said, we're going to stay on our timeline. If we have success this year, that's great. If it takes till next year, so be it.
Paulus with the offensive foul. And a timeout. NC State's with the lead here in the first half. 11:56 remaining in the first half. Duke with some turnover problems and the Wolfpack with a 2-point lead.
Dave Revson with a Sports Center in-game update. Out in the Pac-10, Cal has led UCLA throughout, but Darren Collison, the steal and the dunk, it's just a 1-point lead now for the Bears. Meanwhile, over on ESPN, second round in the Big East, Louisville all over West Virginia. They are on top 16-5.
All right, Dave, back here in Tampa. NC State leading Duke 14-12. Fells already with 6 points. Same for DeMarcus Nelson. And, of course, a shorter bench by both teams. And if you have not heard for some reason, Gerald Henderson there in street clothes, suspended for 1 game by the ACC for what happened on Sunday in the matchup in the waning seconds against North Carolina. Tyler Hansbrough trying to go get his own missed free throw, and then the elbow to the nose. And that's why he's sitting out this game, the flagrant foul. He was ejected from that game, and by rule, you sit out the following game. So Henderson not in the lineup. And as Mike Krzyzewski told Jimmy and me before the ball game, never a dull moment as the basketball coach at Duke. And I said, well, if you coach somewhere else, maybe it wouldn't be that way, but at Duke, it's always going to be that way.
You know, as a former player and coach, I've looked at that time and time again myself. And, you know, was it flagrant? Yes. Was it intentional in terms of having intent to harm Hansborough? I don't think so at all. In terms of intentional to not allow an easy basket, yes. And I think the amount of blood that quickly came to Tyler's nose certainly added extra attention to the play.
You and I agreed, and our opinion maybe matters or maybe it doesn't matter to basketball fans, but I would be willing to bet that if Gerald Henderson jumped in the air 50 times trying to foul Tyler Hansborough, maybe 3 times he'd hit him in the nose. I don't think you can aim for a guy's nose. No, I really don't.
Important to point out also that Gerald Henderson initiated a phone call to Tyler Hansborough this week. They talked through it. No bad feelings. But again, if you're a North Carolina fan right now or a Duke fan right now, you will always see it from 2 different perspectives. Absolutely. As you should in a rivalry like this.
There have been many of those over the years. NC State turns around and throws it away as well. And there's Gerald's dad. Who was a long-time NBA player, 13 years in the league, 81 and 84. He was on title teams with the Celtics.
Now, because of his dad's competitive background and fight you to a national title type attitude himself, that played into Henderson's role as well, because he said, you know what, enough is enough. I'm at least going to go in and make a hard foul on this ball. I'm tired of them putting a knot on our head.
And they put a 86-72 knot as Duke lost back-to-back games at the end of the season to Maryland and North Carolina. Paulus, long 3, and he got it. Boy, the way he was sort of flying sideways, I didn't think that one had a chance, but he puts Duke back in front.
He would be in the running for comeback player of the year from January to March, because he was down and out in January.
Atsuer had it blocked by McClure.
Pressure of being a Duke point guard with all those former Duke assistant coaches on the bench who are point guards, and Paulus has responded.
And Paulus and Shire back-to-back triples, and now Duke's taking command by 4. Almost the midway point of the first half. So the 2 guys that know how to light it up, the 2 best 3-point shooters for Duke. For Greg Paulus, he hit his 63rd on this fadeaway from the top of the circle over Atsuer, and his team's back in the lead. Championship week continuing on ESPN, ESPN2. Here's Paulus on the pass, this time to Shire, and that's his 58th three-pointer. So those 2 guys can light it up from the outside, and did with back-to-back triples to give Duke the lead back. Costner runs into a double team, but got it to McCauley. He missed the reverse layup.
That's why you have to be able to defend McCauley and Costner one-on-one, because if you help on those guys, they will pick you apart as a passer from that post position.
It's going to be interesting on this possession to see if Duke tries to get it to somebody other than Paulus or Shire. It's going to be Nelson, and he missed it.
And again, Nelson comfortable with 2 bounces into his shot. Anything more than 2 bounces, you've done your job defensively on him. Atsuer, one of those point guard, Brad, that you don't speed up. He's going to play the speed that he wants to play, and he wants his team to play.
His mom and dad made the trip over for senior day and have stayed there at the tournament. 7 on the shot clock. He's going to put it up from the free throw line. Costner keeps it alive and off the glass. 2-point game.
Cannot afford that to happen if you're Duke, because NC State only gets 7 of those a ball game. You got to keep it at 7 or less.
Nick Roberts is at the scorer's table. He's been out a little over 7 minutes. Mike Krzyzewski's about ready to bring him back in, though. It'll be interesting to see how he plays defense in the next 8 minutes of this half, trying to avoid that all-important 3rd foul. Right now he's not in there, but he wants to get in there, and Duke has turned it over again. And this time it's going to be on an offensive foul on McClure. Championship week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods continues tonight on ESPN and ESPN2. College hoops doubleheader at 9 on ESPN. It's number 19 Marquette and number 11 Pittsburgh. Quarterfinals of the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. And at 9:30 on ESPN2, Baylor and Missouri get together. First round of the Phillips 66 Big 12 Championship.
ACC tournament, one of those across the country that a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament could be at stake.
Nice up and under through a double team, Jimmy.
And NC State has an offense. They can go at a guy like McRoberts because of their picking and passing and how they spread the floor. McRoberts could have real problems with 2 fouls defending the rest of this half.
And it might have been a problem right there because it was a double team, but Shire says, hey, no problem. I can hit it outside the arc, his second 3. And Duke by 3 under the 8-minute mark.
I love the balance Shire has. Brandon, his offense as a true freshman, 33 made 3s, 29 made 2s in ACC play. That's a great blend.
And DeMarcus Nelson gets the bump, and that's his second foul. So Duke in front with 7:47 remaining in the first half in this first round ACC game. Watch this move by Costner through 2 guys for the Deuce.
Dave Revson in our Sports Center in-game studios. Want to get you updated on that Pac-10 game, Cal and UCLA. Ryan Anderson for the Bears gets the friendly roll. Cal goes on top 46-45. They had led basically throughout until UCLA had just taken the lead, and then Darren Collison takes it right back. It's the Bruins on top by 2, Brett.
All right, Dave. Championship week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Our Star Watch updates. Engenatzer has not scored yet. Greg Paulus has 7 to lead Duke. And they lead by one of those 3-pointers. At the free throw line, Gavin Grant.
You know, it's not the scoring for Atzer, I think, is what we put him in the Star Watch for, though. It's everything else he does. He keeps everyone in their natural position. He sets the tone and the speed that Sid Lowe wants this club to play with. He's an extension of Sid Lowe on that floor. Without him, NC State is a totally different-looking ball club.
Grant missed the second rebound. NC State's going to keep it alive, and it's Grant that comes up with it. And goes all the way to the rack. Almost got fouled again, and then on the backside scores off the glass to tie it up. Good ball game brewing here. Too many turnovers by both teams, but a 21-21 tie. And McCauley with the block. Points in the paint. NC State scored all of their points in the paint so far.
Brad, I go back to the set play NBA offense that Sid Lowe has brought to this program. They can isolate guys, and so someone like McRoberts now is really put in a bind.
And an offensive foul on NC State. And it's going to be on Costner.
Foul number 33, Brandon Costner, his first, 4th team foul.
No Duke coming in off of 2 losses. They're playing for the first day on the first day of this tournament, and since 1995, you knew they would like to come in and make a Duke statement early in this ball game. So far, they haven't been able to do it.
NC State hasn't let them do it. The crowd realizes that too. The feel in here right now, it's like somebody had too much seafood for lunch or something. Everybody's sitting on their hands waiting for Duke to make a big run or NC State to start thinking upset. And here we are stuck on 21.
That could happen in Tampa. You could have too much seafood for lunch. Well, what a great time we had last night, speaking of seafood, out at Dick Vitale's house honoring Fred Bearcat from the ACC is another drive by a big of NC State. What a terrific evening it was, huh, partner?
It was. Dick and Lorraine hosted a party for Fred Bearcat, who after 26 years of basically running the ACC tournament is set to retire. And he and his wife Florence, and a great crowd, coaches and wives and media members and friends, and we had a blast at Dick's palatial estate last night.
Again, this is NC State's offense. Their bigs can catch it on the floor from 25 feet and go all the way to the rim. Now, that shouldn't happen. Although they can do it, that should not happen. A white jersey has got to slide over, step up with a purpose, and make that big give up that basketball.
Point production just dramatically increased by those 3 guys. It had to. They had to come from somewhere. Atzer hasn't scored yet, 79% free throw shooter, and it rolled out. So NC State has left a couple out there. They lead by 2, and we approach the 6-minute mark here in the first half.
You know, I knew it going into that party last night about Dick Vitale, and I came away with it reinforced. The most generous, pure guy in college basketball. That guy, if anyone deserves to be in the Hall of Fame on this year's ballot, it is Dick Vitale for what he has done for all of the game of basketball. My goodness.
And he is a finalist. And, of course, all of us that work with Dick and are friends with Dick hope that that is the case at the Final Four, that he'll get in And a well-deserved honor will be if he does. Grant on the outside, missed a three. DeMarcus Nelson with a rebound. Duke looking to push it here a little bit. They had numbers momentarily. McRoberts is fouled as he got the pass away. And the foul is going to be on McCauley. Championship week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods continues tomorrow on ESPN2. Couple quarterfinal games for the ACC tournament. Florida State and North Carolina. Then at 2, Miami takes on Boston College. Those games are blacked out on the ACC markets. All championship week games are also available online at ESPN360.com. Those were, I don't know that the first one was a surprise, but the second one certainly was. Florida State. Al Thornton had a huge game, 25 points and 11 rebounds, including the game-winning free throw. And Miami beat the hottest team in the conference, Maryland, by 5. Here's Porches with the outside jumper.
They've needed the outside shot of Potsus all season long. A guy they thought might replace some of the departed points of J.J. Redick, only averaging about 1 or 2 points a game. He needs to step up tonight in the absence of Henderson.
Mike Krzyzewski was telling us that before the ball game, and it pays off with that jumper on the baseline. Grant with a crossover dribble, and now looking to get rid of it. 3 seconds.
3-second lane violation.
And another North Carolina State turnover.
Gavin Grant is just good enough off the bounce to get himself into trouble. He's not good enough to break you down and do something good. He's good enough to get himself into trouble at times.
Here's Shire, the freshman. Fakes the shot and gives it up. DeMarcus Nelson weaving through traffic. Got his own miss somehow underneath. And Shire's wide open for 3. Got it. That's his 3rd of the first half. 60 for the year.
And Brad, he might be in line like Danny Ferry and Hurley and Leitner and Redick to become the guy that teams don't like. I mean, he's the next guy maybe in line that say, I do not like that kid from Duke. That's a compliment from me to John Shire.
And an offensive foul. Shire with a nice job defensively. Shire with 63 pointers in his freshman season, number 4 all-time scorer in Illinois high school basketball history, and he's got the feel going right now. Made the all-rookie team. And an interesting article about him in the Tampa paper today about some of his, already as you said, fans noticing some of the facial expressions he has during the course of the game. And already, if you're going to hate something about Shire, that's one of the things they already don't like about him.
Yeah, and the other thing is, he's got the letters D-U-K-E on his jersey.
That's the big thing, I think, right there.
And there's the guy right there tonight without Gerald Henderson. A guy like Potsus off the bench trying to step up and replace those 8 or 9 points. Potsus got the message at the locker room, and he's carried it over onto the floor so far.
And Duke 60% from outside the arc. They're 6 out of 10, and the guys that are having to come through off the bench, as Jimmy said, are right now, especially when they're draining threes.
You know, and Shire is more than just a shooter as a true freshman. He drove that ball baseline and realized, I'm going to get cut off. Potsus did a good job of relocating off of the baseline drive, got in the vision of the passer, and stuck one on him.
So NC State hasn't had one. Duke's got 6 of them already, and they've bounced out now as the crowd kind of lit it up a little bit for Duke there as they have moved out to a 7-point lead. The ACC so strong as you take a look at the RPI. And all those teams have pretty impressive resumes. Now, Florida State probably played themselves out of the tournament today with, or rather Clemson, by losing. Florida State, they win another one, and they might be looking pretty good. Georgia Tech plays Wake Forest tonight. There's Shire, who's got 3 threes. In the last minute and a half, Duke hit 3 3-pointers. So that's accounted for the run that's given them the 7-point advantage.
And that last graphic with those RPIs in this league tells you this is the elite league once again in college basketball. No other league has that many teams with an RPI of 50 or better.
Warner missed on the inside for NC State. And now Duke can extend their lead. 3.5 minutes to go in the half. Paulus short on that one. Costner all alone for the rebound.
You've got to fight through that little hip screen or butt screen that McRoberts tries to throw on you to free up Paulus. You've got to get out and challenge his 45% 3.
Switch off McRoberts now on Atzer. Let's see if Atzer maybe will drive on McRoberts, who's got 2 fouls. Nope, he's going to take the 3. Rimmed it out. And McClure's got the rebound.
Probably should have been a little bit more patient, maybe back dribble, because there was Costner at 6'9" with a 6'2" guy guarding him on the low block. One of the few wrong decisions that you'll see Inganatzer make over a 40-minute ball game.
One thing I guess Atzer knew is that Roberts wasn't going to make a run at it, not with the 2 fouls, and he doesn't want to pick up a third before halftime. Paulus back dribbles and looks over to Mike Krzyzewski.
I think both teams are really happy with the pace right now.
And a foul on Fells. That'll be his second. We got a timeout with 2 minutes, 34 seconds to play in the first half. John Shire, the freshman, maybe he's the answer for Duke as far as where they're going to get their scoring from. Right now, he's got 9.
Dave Revson in the studio. Ahead on the Cisco halftime report, Hubert Davis, who knows this tourney well, joins me. Florida State trying to solidify its spot. No one was hotter than Maryland coming in. Not that Miami particularly cared. And we will update you on the Big East going on over on ESPN. It is all just moments away, Brad.
All right, Dave, we'll see you in about 2.5 minutes. Speaking of teams that have improved their standing, Jimmy, let's hop on your jet and see what you got going on.
Well, there's 65 seats on this jet. That's how many the NCAA tournament has in it. In that first class section right now, North Carolina, they're setting up there, they're fine. In the business class, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Maryland, they maybe got bumped to the coach class with their loss today. But Duke and Boston College in that coach class as well.
And Clemson stuck at security, you say?
At the back of the row, back of the plane, Georgia Tech, they're on the plane right now in the last row. Florida State with their win today, I think they're in the first line of the standby list right now. They're pleading their case why they should be on the plane. Clemson with a loss, they're out there like they're stuck in the security. They can't even get through security because they got too many liquids in their
that are
bags.
3 ounces or more.
They're stuck in security. They're not in good shape for getting on that jet at all.
Clemson, who started 17-0, lost today 67-66. And I don't know, we've asked this question and everybody's talked about it. Has there ever been a team start 17-0 and not make the NCAA tournament? Probably not. Here's another Duke turnover. If Costner can win it, the race to the route from Paulus, and he does.
NC State has gotten some points now off of offensive rebounds and off of their defense, something they don't normally get a lot of.
NC State was scoreless for about 5 minutes, so that transition basket, which gives Costner a dozen, gets the game back to 7. Shire's the hot hand right now for Duke. Paulus is well aware of that. But it's stripped by Atzer. McClure got it back. 2 seconds on the shot clock, and Potsu somehow found an avenue to get in there. He's got 7 points.
And Brad, in March, when part of your strength is on the bench, either for an injury or a 1-game suspension like Henderson, someone has to take up that slack. So far, it's been Potsus in this ball game.
Costner's having a great first half. He missed in close, got his own miss, and missed again, but he's fouled.
What I like about Potsus is when he comes in, he's thinking, I'm a scorer. He's only averaging 1 point in ACC play, but mentally he thinks he's a 10-point-a-game scorer. So he gets his opportunity in this ball game. He has stuck some threes, and you go out and take away his reference points, which is a 3-point shot. He can also slide to the rim. The reason why he's on the floor, Gerald Henderson with that 1-game suspension.
Costner's having a great first half. Top freshman scorer and rebounder this year in the ACC, Brandon Costner. 6'8" freshman. He actually played in 5 games last year before a stress fracture in his leg forced him to the sideline. And to be quite honest with you, I think in the voting for Rookie of the Year, that probably hurt him, that he actually was in uniform last year. Because when you look at his numbers, and with all due respect to Brandon Wright and Javaris Crittenden, I'm not sure that kid shouldn't have won the ACC Rookie of the Year award. Minute 11 remaining, and a 7-point Duke lead. Here's the bracket again. It was Florida State over Clemson, so Florida State goes on to meet the #1 seed, North Carolina. And then Miami, with a win over Maryland, advances to meet Boston College. The winner of this one gets Virginia. As you look back today, first game of the ACC tournament, and Al Thornton put on a show. Boy, there were some scouts watching him 25 points, 11 rebounds. Clemson was led by Trevor Booker's 18 points, but in the end, Thornton hits a free throw with a second and a half to go, and that's all they needed. Florida State with a 67-66 win.
And my thoughts on Florida State, Brad, if they do beat North Carolina tomorrow, I think there's no way you can keep them out of the NCAA tournament. They might get in anyways, and if they do, Al Thornton, as talented as he is, he's one of those guys that can win you a game or two that first weekend, all by his NBA future potential talent that he's got. He is that good. If you have not seen him play, tune in and watch tomorrow.
Under a minute now. Duke up by 7 and using some shot clock here. Shire. Potsus with 7 and kicked. And is off the knee of Potsus, and that'll be a Duke turnover. They're 11th in the first half.
And again, you look at the big picture in this tournament, North Carolina trying to solidify their #1 seed in the NCAA tournament on Sunday. Kansas out of the Big 12, Florida in the SEC, Ohio State, Wisconsin, UCLA. A lot of meaning for those teams right now in conference tournaments, something we haven't seen recently. Those #1 seeds and very much up in the air.
This is a huge possession right here for NC State. There's about 5 seconds difference on the shot clock and the game clock. Enganatsu are way out here near midcourt. They know that a bucket here would make it a 5-point game or less, and there they go with a perfect cut by Brandon Costner through the lane, and he has got 16 points in the first half. Now a stop for NC State, and we really got a ball game. A runner by Shire way off the mark, and at halftime it's going to be Duke in front, but both teams have led for significant minutes in the first half. NC State goes to the locker room with Costner having a huge first half. Enganatsu, no points, but he's led the floor game. Greg Paulus with 7 points, but Shire with 11 right now leads Duke 34-29. Blue Devils at halftime. Dave Rebson and the guys in the studio now for the Cisco halftime report.
Thank you, Brad. So Duke 23-1 since '98 in this tourney, and on top at the half. More from the ACC ahead. Hubert Davis will join me. The Cisco halftime report down to the wire between Florida State and Clemson. We'll show you how it went down next.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by GMC. We are professional grade.
Let's go, come on. Drive, slam, full court, pressure, 3-point shot, all that. Yes, sir, you all that. Yes, you all that. Yes, you all that. Yes, you all that. Yes.
Championship week continuing. Presented by Dick's Sporting Goods, and a good game in the ACC tonight. Duke 34, North Carolina State 29. NC State led by as many as 4. Duke led by as many as 9 in that first half of play. Welcome back, everybody, to Tampa. Brad Nessler and Jimmy Dykes. Duke sort of owned outside the arc, and it seemed like NC State owned the paint. That was kind of the story of the first half.
And think about this. If we would have said Duke's going to have 11 turnovers in the first half and McRoberts would only have 2 points, you would think Duke does not have the lead.
Right.
But they do. So they found some things off of their bench with Potsus to have them the lead right now. Again, very important without Gerald Henderson in this ball game. But Duke has to do a better job of defending these on-ball screens and slips. Hold it right here. You're going to see Costner just slip right to the rim, and Paulus number 3. If you're going to switch, you got to stay attached, Brad. Look at Paulus. He gets caught in between. He's in no man's land. Costner reads no man land means I'm going to shoot a layup on you. Got to communicate much better on those slips.
The Guinness first half statistics, 54% and 50 respectively. But look at the 3-point field goal. 6 of 11 for Duke. That's the difference in the ball game right now. 11-8 in the turnover margin, and look at that, points in the paints.
Brad, you're right about those 3-point shots of Duke. When you think about this, they come into the ball game only averaging 6 3-point makes per game. They've already got that many in the first half.
Second half underway. McRoberts, who had early foul trouble, had to sit out a good chunk of the first half, going with the one-hand hook shot. The rebound is kept alive by McClure. And now Shire, who is so hot from outside the arc, and he didn't cool off in the locker room. 14 for Shire, and he's hit all 4 of his 3-pointers.
Kid's got guts, I'm telling you. He's a true freshman. And again, a nice blend to his offense between 3s, 2s, and free throws.
McCauley faces the basket against McRoberts, and he goes with a hook, and he scores. Best move by the big guy, Ben McCauley, so far tonight.
And if you can't stop NC State's two bigs, Costner and McCauley one-on-one, a lot of things can really open up for that team in red on the offensive end.
Shire's going to try it just inside the line. He was too close. Now he feeds down to McRoberts and out to DeMarcus Nelson for a triple. Fells up there high for the rebound. Pick and roll, and it's Atzer doing all the rolling. Missed the layup. Atzer's 0 for 5 from the floor. Nice flip back by Paulus, but then the ball's intercepted by Costner. So Duke turns it over again.
One of the problems for Duke all season long, careless turnovers, and turnovers at key times in ball games. Sign of a young club, always is.
Here's Atzer for 3. Finally got one to go. His 212th of his career, and it draws his team to within 3.
See how Atzer just took his time to read the defense, set his guy up, little headhunter screen. Even when he's working off the ball, he plays to the tempo that he wants to play to.
He's never in a hurry, is he?
Never in a hurry. He even talks slow.
Of the 4 languages he speaks.
Yes.
And a blocking foul on NC State's going to be on Grant.
Well, you see Atzer, he's a screener right here to begin with, and then he's going to pop up with a little headhunter screen. But see, look at that, just reads the defense, doesn't get in a rush. Little headhunter screen by McCauley. But again, screen the screener action for NC State to get the 3.
Shire finally missed a 3. And McCauley with a rebound, and NC State's got a chance to cut the lead down to a single point or a 3-pointer. Would tie us up again. 5 ties in the first half. McCauley, nice spin up and under on McRoberts.
Brad, there it is again. If you cannot take away McCauley and Costner's ability one-on-one on that low block, you're in trouble. Now will Duke have to adjust and come with help defenders.
Paulus takes a 3 and buries it. 10 for Paulus. And again, Duke hitting the outside shots. NC State doing all the tough work inside.
They love Duke or hate Duke, and there is no in-between in the ACC territory. You have to respect what Greg Paulus has done this year to battle back and become the player he's become.
And now Engen Atzer says, this is my last ACC tournament. I'm going to start warming up. 1-point game.
Future good European pro is Engen Atzer.
Their only returning starter from last year, their only senior starter. And he's made it a 1-point game. Nice move to the basket by Paulus, and he's fouled by Atzer.
I think there are 3 really good passing posts on the floor tonight in McCauley and Costner, and certainly Josh McRoberts. Those guys, they understand to play the game one pass ahead of everybody else. And McRoberts knew exactly what he was looking for. As the ball was coming to him, he was thinking, where am I going with it? Just like a point guard.
Not too many big guys at 6'10" coming in and have over 100 assists on the season, which he did. 108 coming into the game tonight as Paulus hits the free throw. Thomas comes back in, and McClure goes out for Duke. Greg Paulus, sophomore of Syracuse, New York. Coming off a 21-point game in that loss to North Carolina, and he's got 11 here in this ACC tournament game. Duke by 2. McCauley lost the handle, but it comes free to Gavin Grant. Grant, Atzer up and under, tie game. 41 apiece. I think the Duke fans are a little bit in shock. There's not a lot of noise. What noise is being made now is for the folks that are in the Wolfpack red.
You've been here at this tournament more than me. The longer this game stays close, the more fans that are here just watching, they start cheering for the team in red.
Yep. McRoberts, nice cut to the basket by Nelson. Didn't finish it though, and the rebound knocked out of bounds. With 15:52, we've got a timeout remaining. Sidney Lowe, big smile on his face. His first ACC tournament as a head coach. Atzer up and under for a 41-41 tie. Tie ball game, 41 apiece. in this first-round ACC tournament game here in Tampa. And Engen Atzer hadn't scored at halftime. Has scored 8 points in the last 2 minutes and 10 seconds, including that three, and the reverse layup just before the break to tie the ball game at 41.
You know what, Brad? He's a character guy. And a character guy during championship week as a senior can take ownership in a ball club like Atzer has done in the last couple of minutes. If you're Sidney Lowe, you love to have a guy like Atzer that knows we lose, we go home. He's going to fight you the entire 40.
McRoberts on the low block. McCauley on his hit. Josh with a hook shot. Doesn't get it. And the rebound is McCauley's.
McRoberts has really struggled from his freshman year last year to his sophomore this year, embracing the role of a superstar and the playing with the pressure if you need to get 16, 18 points a game. It's not easy to do.
When you're a complimentary player, you got J.J. Redick and Sheldon Williams, it's a lot easier to be one of those than somebody say, okay, you're a captain, now you're a sophomore, go do it and be a star. And it doesn't work out that way. Not that he hasn't worked awfully hard at it. He's got some good numbers.
Still the only player in the country to average 10 points, 7.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 2.5 blocks.
That ain't bad. No, here's a whistle and a foul on DeMarcus Nelson. And that is going to be 3 on Nelson. There's the numbers for Josh McRoberts,
21,
the
Nelson,
sophomore from Indiana.
that's his
At the
third.
free throw line, Gavin Grant to give NC State its first lead of the second half.
And ideally, what Duke needed out of McRoberts this year, in my opinion, was for that 12 points to be about 18, maybe 19 points.
Gavin Grant has one more.
Grant's 2 out of 3 from the free throw line. And again, got 1 of 2. Kept alive by McCauley, though. If Atzer can track it down, and he did. So now it's State with a lead and the basketball back. Atzer running all over the court, trying to free himself. In the meantime, a whistle and a foul on Lance Thomas.
Number 42, Lance Thomas, that's his second.
42-41. You know, hot teams sometimes, like Maryland, doesn't matter how hot you are when you get to tournament time. And speaking of hot, how about the Winona State Warriors? My friend Mike Leaf in Winona, Minnesota, the Division II club. The Warriors haven't lost since last January. 52 straight games. They play in the Division II playoffs. I believe their game is on Saturday. I just wanted to give a shout out to a good friend who's got a great basketball team. 52 straight, ties the record set by Langston of Oklahoma back in 1943 through 46.
Wow. They're like 30-0 this year, aren't they?
Yeah, they're undefeated.
That is some season.
Won the national championship Division II last year. So maybe they're on another roll to win back-to-back titles. And Coach Leaf and his players always make it a point to come to my hometown in my cancer research golf tournament. So they're good friends, and I just wanted to wish them well in their Division II playoffs this weekend. Atzer feeds inside to Fells. Fells in deep, and I think a little too far, but a whistle, late whistle, and a foul they're going to call, I believe, on Shire.
Duke's last possession, though, they get McRoberts down low, and he scores with his back to the basket. A good seal and a good target hand that time by McRoberts. Had his guy on his hip and then stuck out the left paw. Told the passer, this is exactly where I want the basketball. From there, it's an easy 2 points.
You told Sidney Lowe that at the 14:26 mark, his man at the free throw line would tie it for the second time in the half at 43. I think Sid would take it. Playing the number 21 team in the country and playing them for the 227th time in history. Not only that, playing them for the 23rd time in the ACC tournament. His team's in front. NC State by 1 again.
So, Brad, you're talking about a guy that has worn that Wolfpack jersey in this tournament as a player. He knows the importance of these games.
DeMarcus Nelson just inside the three-point line. Changes the lead yet again. Back to Duke by 1. And the longer this game goes, and if it stays like this, it looks better and better for North Carolina State. Here's a nice overplay by McRoberts defensively. And he gave it up, but he gave it away. He's trying to get it over to Paulus on the left wing, and he threw it all the way to the Duke bench, basically.
And I think it was a bad decision, first of all, but for McRoberts to try to give it up to begin with, because he had a 4 or 5 inch height advantage. He had an angle at least get himself fouled with a toughness play right there, but he tried to make a finesse play, and it didn't work out.
Grant. Nelson goes down, no foul call, and North Carolina State throws it away. Their 3rd turnover of the half, the 11th of the game. Right now, Duke's at 13 turnovers. That's been the only negative to a good game. Shire's got 4 threes tonight. Tries for a 2 there. Had it blocked by Fells and then backs away and missed from the elbow. NC State 3-on-3. Grant's going to give it up. Hatsur's got an open triple and knocked it down. 3rd three-pointer for Engen Hatsur in the half.
And what did Hatsur do? He knows he's not a guy that can run and finish at the rim in transition. So he runs in rhythm of the bounce right to the 3-point line for that open shot.
Foul down on the low block is going to be on Courtney Fells. That's his 3rd. Here's what Jimmy's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, Hatzur's not going to get sucked into the rim and try to make a play and getting fouled at the rim and all that. He runs in a nice rhythm, gets his feet set at that 3-point line, and just sticks a big shot for NC State.
There's the numbers coming in, 211. He's got 3 more in this half now, so it's 214, and that makes him the active ACC 3-point shooter in this tournament. Came in tied with one of the guards for Virginia, Singletary. Now it's a 2-point North Carolina State lead. Hatsur going to the deck. Got a timeout called. Duke turns it over again. And with 13:01 remaining in the half, do we have a 3rd upset in a row on day 1 in the ACC tournament in the making? Hang around and find out.
Shocker in the Pac-10, a Cal team which has been dreadful the last couple months, knocks off UCLA. Allende Ubaka had 29, the 1 seed out in the Pac-10, Brad. Meanwhile, it's Louisville on top of West Virginia, 44-35, and Oklahoma State leading Nebraska in the Big 12.
Did UCLA just wave goodbye to a number 1 seed, do you think? NC State leads here, 47-45. 13:01 remaining in the ballgame. Brandon Costner, all 16 of his points came in the first half. And NC State to inbound in the backcourt, and Duke with some full court pressure this time.
Brad, normally this time of the year, you can just about bank on a couple of number 1 seeds already having it locked up. That is not the case right now. Again, the importance of these conference tournaments all across the country right now. A lot at stake.
Oh, with something like that happening, what if Memphis just continues their steamrolling through their conference and ends up 31-3? Somebody's got to give them a little love there, don't they?
Kansas fighting for that spot in the Big 12. Florida in the SEC. Ohio State, Wisconsin. Texas A&M could figure into the picture before it's all said and done.
Neiman off his knee and out of bounds. NC State turns it over. Not taking advantage to try to stretch their lead. There's the coaches poll presented by Siemens. Ohio State, Kansas, UCLA, Wisconsin, and Memphis, the top 5. Duke is ranked number 21, and for a time this year was not ranked for the first time since, I don't know, a long time ago. Mike Krzyzewski, who's won 702 games at Duke, 775 overall, has averaged 25 wins or more every year at Duke. 3 championships, 91, 92, and 01. Here's Paulus on the jumper, in and out. McRoberts was right in midair and almost tipped that thing back in, but came back down to earth and then went back up to score. And we're tied again.
I think McRoberts needs to have a really good 12 minutes and 28 seconds in this ball game. Again, without Gerald Henderson's 8 or 9 points off the bench and energy plays and highlight plays that can, one basket can become 2 or 3, McRoberts might be the guy.
Hatsur gets it to Costner, who hasn't scored this half. Had it stripped by McRoberts. NC State with another turnover. DeMarcus Nelson fouled by McCauley on the other end, and McCauley's got 3. So NC State, and that'll make a coach shake his head. They had an opportunity to make it a 4-point game, back-to-back turnovers, and now they're going to see their lead probably slip away from the free throw line.
And Brad, I talked about it. Would Duke have to make an adjustment on the low post guys for NC State? That time they came hard with a double team and come up with a steal because of it. I don't think Duke can afford to play the bigs of NC State one-on-one anymore on that low block.
Marcus Nelson, another one of the captains, junior out of Elk Grove, California. 8 points on the night. 2 for 2 from the free throw line, and came up way short on that one.
Watch McRoberts' boom come down right there. Now that's what they were not doing in the first half and the first few minutes of the second half. I think Coach K has made that adjustment. He said, I've seen enough of McCauley and Costner beating our guys one-on-one on that low block.
So Nelson, 2 out of 3 from the stripe tonight, has another chance to give Duke the lead. And didn't get either, so they didn't lose the lead. They might before this possession's over, because another chance for Duke. Fresh shot clock, still tied at 47, under 12 minutes to play. Here in first round action in the ACC tournament in Tampa. Brad Nessler and Jimmy Dykes with you. McRoberts down low, waits, and had it stripped from behind by Costner.
And your description of Waits is what cost him. Should have caught and just exploded through somebody's chin to that rim.
And now Shire can't stay with Grant, and he picks up the foul. Timeout, 11:36 to play in the ball game. NC State 47, Duke 47. This broadcast is available on ESPN2 HD from beautiful Tampa, Florida. And I mean, what a glorious day today. Around 80 degrees and sunny. No rain in the forecast for tomorrow either. Beautiful night. The St. Pete Times Forum hosting the 54th ACC tournament. Look at the field goal shooting. 6 out of 7 in this half for NC State, which is what, partner?
86%.
There you go.
And then we shot 34% in the first game, NC State against Duke. But again, that was because number 14 with that basketball right now did not play. He was out with a bad hamstring. That's the difference he makes in this ball club.
Here he goes on cue for Jimmy.
And again, he covers so much ground at the tempo he wants to play. You can't speed him up. He just uses his rear end as a shield to pressure, takes the ball anywhere he wants to take it when he wants to go.
He's hit his last 5 shots after going scoreless in the first half. Somebody must have told him he was on our star watch at the beginning of the game. Josh McRoberts muscles one up, and we're tied again.
And I think McRoberts has to get 2 or 3 more of those muscles-lit up type baskets in this ball game. Get him down that low block and let his size influence this game a little bit.
8th tie of the ball game, even at 49. Costner hasn't scored this half. Still hasn't. Rebound McClure.
And Costner knows he hasn't scored this half. He was going to shoot that thing no matter what happened. Bad decision by Costner to fire that thing up that quick.
He had 16 points and 4 rebounds at halftime and has neither. Marcus Nelson and a foul as Grant, backing up, picks up his second foul.
Brad, watch Atzer drive this basketball. He just takes his time, reads the defense, no explosiveness in his game, but a high IQ angle type guy. And now here's McRoberts going to work. Bounces that basketball, and that's through your chin to the rim mentality out of McRoberts that I think this club desperately needs.
Wallace will inbound with a fresh shot clock. Shire's going to try 3, and Neiman swatted it out of bounds. Neiman. Senior out of Raleigh, Brian Neiman, former walk-on who earned a scholarship. And playing quite a few minutes tonight, and earlier than usual for Sidney Lowe.
What you like about Neiman, he's got 4 turnovers in 183 ACC minutes.
And a foul on McClure. We've had a lot of offensive fouls. That's 4 on McClure, who got the start tonight with Gerald Henderson out due to the 1-game suspension. Atzer doing it all in the second half after the inside guy, Costner, did it all in the first 20 minutes. Atzer gets a breather, and you wonder now what North Carolina State will look like for the next minute or so, or however long Sidney Lowe gives him a blow over on the sideline.
And will Duke try to turn up their pressure with Atzer out of the ball game? Most clubs do. When Atzer goes out, they try to turn it up a couple of notches.
Fells gets it out. Grant gave up a 3 and then walks. Not a good choice in either case. Championship week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods continues tonight. 9 o'clock on ESPN. It's Marquette and Pittsburgh, quarterfinals of the Big East, presented by Aeropostale. And then at 9:30 on ESPN2, Baylor and Missouri in the Phillips 66 Big 12 Championship. Halfway through the second half as Paulus launches a three. Still tied at 49 with Grant and the rebound for NC State. Pull-up jumper this time. Don't know about that shot.
I do. It was a bad one.
Paulus, great look down to McRoberts, and he has to give it up because the defense collapsed on it. Poaches, Shire, good ball movement, but nice defense by NC State. Paulus says, okay, we didn't get what we wanted. Let's back it out and try it again.
You know what NC State did really well there? They recovered the shooters with a low rear end and high hand. I mean, you can't draw it up any better than they just did.
Oh, what a pass to McRoberts from Paulus. None better tonight. And right by the ear of a defender.
Brad, I said it 2 minutes ago. McRoberts has to have a good 2 or 3 minutes around the rim, being strong and tough. He just slips right to the rim, and Paulus with great vision. But I love the mentality that McRoberts has brought to this game in the last 2 or 3 minutes. Not being a finesse guy, but doing something with some strength and some passion. Boom, right there.
And a little bit of flash. Another look as a reverse slam gives him 10 for the game, 8 in this half. He was second team All ACC, and he also made the All Defensive team voted by the media. So his numbers are starting to increase after early foul trouble kept him out of a good portion of the first half. Duke in front, 51-49. Remember, the winner of this one gets number 2 seed Virginia tomorrow. Already, Miami and Florida State have advanced to meet North Carolina and Boston College, respectively. And Virginia Tech will get the winner of the nightcap tonight, Georgia Tech and Wake Forest. The madness is here. Don't forget, fill out your brackets, log on to ESPN.com today and play Tournament Challenge for free. They say nothing's free in life. Log on, there's something free.
I saw Boston College's AD Gene DiFilippo at halftime. He said, hey, we belong up there in business class or first class. You've got us in coach. That's not right.
I saw Gene, too, and he was looking for you. He must have found you. 9 minutes and change remaining. Duke by 2. Costner looking to score this half. Has now. 18 for Brandon Costner. Tied again. 9th tie of the ball game. 51-51.
And NC State has stayed tied with Atzer on the bench. That was a huge 2.5 minutes for them to go through.
And a foul is going to be on Fells, and that'll be 4 on Courtney Fells. So now NC State's got a little bit of foul concerns.
See, the double team came, but Costner knows, and he feels the pressure more than sees it, and goes opposite where the pressure came from. He goes baseline. That was just a good field play by Brandon Costner on the low block.
Greg Paulus steps to the free throw line. One of 4 underclassmen in the starting lineup. Jimmy mentioned this earlier. Fewest upperclassmen on a Duke team since 1946. And the last time they had this many underclassmen in a starting lineup was 1984. They had sophomores named Johnny Dawkins, Tommy Amaker, Mark Allery, and one Jay Billis. Those guys all turned out to be pretty good players, didn't they?
Pretty good analysts.
Yeah, pretty good
analysts.
everything. Yeah, pretty good everything. Pretty good coaches. Johnny Dawkins still on the Duke bench as associate head coach, of course. There's John. All-time leading scorer in Duke history before J.J. Redick came along.
All those former Duke point guards sitting over there. Adds to the pressure of guys like Greg Paulus trying to evolve into the next great point guard. And he's handled it awfully well the last 6 weeks.
Nice job by DeMarcus Nelson to hold his ground and force the offensive foul on Gavin Grant. That's Grant's third. Sidney Lowe didn't like it much. You know, you talk about Duke having turnovers, and you look over there and you see Chris Collins and Steve Wojciechowski and Johnny Dawkins, and you know every time there's one of those turnovers that wants to drive you crazy, all 3 of those guys want to roll their eyes.
Sure.
And go, are you kidding me?
You know, but I've actually watched them tonight. They're right across from our broadcast position, and they don't change expressions on their face. They have done a great job with a young team of not letting what they did as players affect this ball club.
Talking about point guards, we're kind of forgetting about the head coach was a pretty good one.
Yes.
Sorry, Mike.
Tough. Very tough, very competitive.
15 on the shot clock. He has a little weave with Shire and Nelson and Paulus out on top. And now Paulus gets an open 3. Got it. Greg Paulus' third three of the night. And Duke gets out to a 5-point lead. Biggest lead they've had in some time. They stretched it to 8 at one point in this second half, led by 5 at the break, and now they're back up by a handful, 56-51. Boy, NC State in dire need of a basket right here. Don't want to let Duke get too far in front. McCauley, that's just plain muscle with one hand off the glass. McCauley's got 8.
But Brad, what happened? Again, McCauley catches it on the low block. No double down defense comes out of Duke, and McCauley's allowed to bounce that ball 2 or 3 times into his shot.
Now Duke runs the same offense with that weave on top. Paulus got a 3 last time. This time McCauley gets on him defensively. But Nelson will pull up from long range, and he scores. Almost the same result, 10 for DeMarcus Nelson.
A big-time shot by Nelson, but a bigger-time play by Paulus, because he's the guy that sucked in those red jerseys and knew exactly where Nelson was the entire time he was driving that basketball.
Hatzer goes to the deck as he's fouled. I think it's going to be on McRoberts, although Paulus was there as well.
Duke foul number 2, Josh
McRoberts picks up his third. Here's Paulus as he got around McCauley, knocked down his third 3 of the night. 16 for Paulus. Duke in front.
Longtime ACC corporate partners.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's. And in part by Volvo. Experience the full line of 2007 Volvos. Who would you give a Volvo to? Volvo for life.
Dave Revson in the studio. Duke on top by 5 over NC State. Want to let you know what's going on the other ESPN networks. Good one over on ESPN in the Big East. Louisville and West Virginia now a 1-point lead for the Cardinals. ESPNU is give and go. They'll take you all over the country to big games. They've got Oklahoma State on right now, up 16 over Nebraska.
All right, Dave. So Louisville, West Virginia game has turned. This one has turned many times. Lead changes, 9 ties. Right now, Duke has the advantage that they had at halftime, up 5, courtesy of Greg Paulus and Josh McRoberts, who have really put on a second-half performance. Paulus, 16 points, couple of assists, only 2 turnovers, and McRoberts is awakened offensively. He's got 10 now. At the free throw line is the guy that's had the biggest half of anybody. And Ganatsur, who might be playing his last ACC tournament game unless they can come from behind. He's got 13 all in this half. And the free throw comes out. He was on the Turkish national team. He's a dual citizen. His dad and mom are here tonight. Chetan, his dad, and Renata, his mom, who is German. He mentioned earlier he speaks 4 languages. He's one of the real class kids who we enjoy watching play basketball. And he's been a good one. He's a reason why this game is a lot closer than the one earlier this year, 79-56, all Duke in the regular season game, because he wasn't in the lineup.
Duke having a lot of success now with their 3-man weave, ball screen offense up top. They've scored 3 out of the last 4 times with it. NC State makes an adjustment defensively. This Duke lead is going to continue to grow.
60-54. Costner, and he's fouled before he got to the basket by DeMarcus Nelson. Nelson has quietly had a pretty impressive game. That's his 4th foul, but he's got 12 points and 9 rebounds, Jimmy.
That time the double team did come down on Costner, and Costner read. And again, Henderson not in the ball game tonight, Brad. And you know, I had a great conversation with Mike Krzyzewski back in November about the responsibility of players and coaches, announcers, officials, protecting and respecting the integrity of the game of basketball. And I feel this with all my heart, that if Mike Krzyzewski would have thought that the intentions of Gerald Henderson were to hurt and bloody the nose of Tyler Hansbrough, he would have taken that 1-game suspension another step. And I think after all the review of film, talking with him, I think he respects the game of basketball enough that he made the decision that the ACC was enough of a penalty.
And his dad looks on, and his son can only watch in street clothes as his team is up by 4. He's doing a little praying over there while he's got the tie on, and watching his team on the floor against an NC State team that came in with only 5 wins in ACC regular season play, and they're giving Duke all they can handle. And a walk on McRoberts. That's a 17th Duke turnover. So NC State's got another opportunity to draw closer.
No, the big fellow likes to pass, and he can pass. But that time he was trying to pass the basketball from about the 7-foot mark from the rim. At that point, Atzer was on him. McRoberts, be strong and at least get yourself to the free throw stripe with a shot attempt.
McRoberts has turned it over 5 times. Atzer waiting and waiting and finally got it to Costner where he wanted it to get into, but it's also a double team. Going right back inside. Costner off the glass. Brandon Costner 22. And it's a 2-point game. Now the NC State fans are making some noise again. And Duke is going to squelch the noise right there as Mike Krzyzewski says timeout.
NC State passes that ball so well. Look at Costner, feels the defense. He does a good job of posting and reposting because he posted, they took it away, and he goes right back and posts again. And this time he goes away from where the help defense is coming from and goes to the baseline side. What I love about Costner, Brad, he can score equally going either shoulder. That's really rare for a redshirt freshman.
Well, he was on the all-freshman team, but speaking of all ACC teams, how about the first team overall as we take a look for you from the sands of Tampa? Player of the Year, Jared Dudley of Boston College. Al Thornton, who had a huge game in Florida State's win today with 25 points. Tyler Hansbrough before the broken nose with a slam. Hansbrough, a unanimous selection for the 2nd year in a row. Sean Singletary of Virginia, part of their great backcourt, and Xavier Dowdell of Virginia Tech. There's your ACC first team performers here in championship week. And right here, 60-58. Tight ball game, and it has been throughout. Nobody's been able to get any kind of breathing room, although Duke at one point led by 8 in the second half. NC State wouldn't let him run away from him. McRoberts over McCauley with the right hand. I believe he switched hands and knocks it down. He's got 12.
That's what he has to do. He wasn't thinking about passing and being a finesse guy on that low post. He was thinking about getting that ball up on the orange rim.
Costner getting back in the offensive flow. McCauley tips it in. McCauley's in double figures now.
I said it this past weekend. We were doing their game at Maryland. McCauley's the kind of guy that arrives to the gym in a bad mood, and he plays the game with that type of mentality. So 50-50 balls, a lot of time they go to the guy that's in the worst mood.
What did you say to him before the game? Something about, I think you're the toughest guy in the ACC?
Yeah, he lit up, man. He loved it when I told him that. It'd be a hard call in my eyes between him and Tyler Hansbrough as far as toughness. Those two cats come to play every night.
And here's the follow by McCauley. That'll tip in just when it got out of the cylinder to give him his 10th point and make it a 2-point game again. 4:37 a chance. NC State this trip down to tie it up again.
So, Brad, I'd say the big story in this tournament is how will Tyler Hansbrough play in what is expected to be a mask to protect that broken nose. He's a rugged guy, and his rugged style, I think, will be okay with that mask on. Nothing finesse about Tyler Hansbrough. That's what I love about that guy.
We'll find out about 5 after 12 tomorrow, I guess.
Terrific.
Great feed. Costner to McCauley. Big guy to big guy. Tie game, 62. And we're at 4 minutes plus. And now the fans for both teams know they're in for a dogfight for the next 4 minutes.
Duke has never had an answer for those slips and the passing ability of NC State's bigs in this ball game.
DeMarcus Nelson, jumper won't go. Costner the rebound. Wolfpack with a ball in a tie game. Sidney Lowe's not strumming a banjo. He's calling a play. He calls one just about every time down court. McCauley with McRoberts on his hip. He sneaks it to Atzer. Oh, what a shot! Engin Atzer, and North Carolina State leads. How did that thing have enough eyes to find the basket?
What a pass, what a catch, and what a finish out of Atzer.
Duke trailing with 3 minutes and 10 seconds remaining, and they throw it away. Grant going one-on-one with DeMarcus Nelson. Up and in. Gavin Grant's first field goal of the second half. Mike Krzyzewski might want another timeout. There it is. NC State trying to pull a shocker. Less than 3 minutes to go in Tampa.
30-second timeout.
Brad, it all started with a beautiful slip to the rim by Atzer. Look at this pass from McCauley. Between 3 white jerseys, and Atzer may be the only guy in this league that can make that play, going away from the basket with his right hand with reverse spin on it.
Maybe if you had a pool cue, you could pull that off. But that had enough English on it that is his 5th language. And then Grant off the turnover. 4-point lead, and Mike Krzyzewski says, let's get over here, fellas, and let's take a timeout.
The Duke Ball Club has been in a ton of close ball games this year. Coach K before the tournament said he expects those close ball games to pay off in March. Well, it's March. They're in a close ball game with 2:55 to go. We'll see. Can they do it without the help of Gerald Henderson serving that 1-game suspension? Another big story in this game, him not playing because he makes plays in a ball game that Duke just has not been able to make.
NC State has matched its biggest lead of the ball game. You had to go back to 14-10 in the first half, but they just gave 2 of them back and maybe a 3rd.
And how big was the timeout call by Coach K? He called the timeout, told his troops, this is exactly what I want coming out of this timeout. DeMarcus Nelson refuses the ball screen, rejects it, goes baseline. A great timeout and a big 2 points for the Duke Blue Devils.
Well, we got a great one going here between Duke and NC State. Wild one over on ESPN as well. Louisville led by as many as 17 in the second half against West Virginia. But Deshaun Butler puts the Mountaineers on top. It's now tied.
Wow. There's the brackets. Georgetown and Notre Dame have already advanced. Who's going to come out of that Louisville-West Virginia dogfight? You know, Florida State beat Clemson by 1 today. The Miami-Maryland game was a 1-point game with 23 seconds left. And we could have a 1-point game with 2:50 to go if this free throw from DeMarcus Nelson goes in.
And the way the regular season went in this league, I think any of 8 or 9 teams coming in had a legitimate shot to win the whole thing, and it's playing out that way before our eyes on this first day.
Rips the free throw. 3-point play completed by DeMarcus Nelson, and it's 66-65. NC State with a lead with 2:45 to go.
I go back to the timeout call by Coach K to get the bucket and the foul. Get this club right back in it.
McCauley going to the deck to try to avoid the turnover. The ball's still loose. And it's going to be NC State ball right in front of their own bench. The big scramble. Nice hustle by everybody, including Paulus, who's the last to get off the deck.
Brad, and think about it. Duke has won 23 of their past 24 games in this ACC tournament. They're 235 away right now from being eliminated.
The lowest they've ever been seeded was 95. They were the number 9 seed, and they beat NC State in what was then called the play-in game. That's before the conference expanded, of course. So they just about got the floor toweled off. That young fella had a pretty big job. There was a pretty good pileup. Looked like NASCAR over there in front of the Wolfpack bench.
Teams that get back-to-back stops are normally teams that win in March. Who can do it first?
Atzer thought about a shot and instead got it into Grant, who turns and fires, and McCauley keeps it alive. And let's see how much clock NC State will use. Costner on top, going to drive on McClure, and fouled. And McClure, if it's on him, that's it. Remember, he started tonight with Gerald Henderson out to the suspension, and now he's going to be out as well. Never quite figured out the rule about when a player fouls out that the entire team can basically get a free timeout by going over around their coach before the substitution's made.
It needs to be changed. I think it delays the game.
I mean, both teams get basically a timeout out of this, but it's a dead spot in the game that doesn't need to be there.
Officials' hands are tied because it's allowed.
The last 8 years, only once. The year Maryland not only won the tournament, but the national title. It's Duke, Duke, Duke all the way down.
And it's that kind of record right there is why Duke in the ACC and across the country, you either love the Duke Blue Devils or you cannot stand them. There is no gray area. That's the level that Coach K has taken that program to in all those years.
And Costner, second free throw he's missed tonight, 4 out of 6.
Sidney Lowe said when he took that job, he understood he was right in the heart of North Carolina and Duke. He said, I welcome the challenge because I did it when I was a player. My goal is to get us right back in the thick of that conversation.
And Costner got the second. I may have said Maryland won the national championship that year they won the ACC. That wasn't the year. They won it in Atlanta, which is where the Final Four will be this year. Maryland would love to get back there, but they lost their first-round game today. Both these teams looking to advance. It's a 2-point NC State lead under 2 minutes. Potsus on a drive. Tie game and one.
How big has this guy been in this ball game for Duke with Gerald Henderson on the bench?
He's 4 for 4 from the floor. Now he's got a chance from the free throw line to give his team the lead.
And again, 9 points out of Henderson aren't available. Great drive of DeMarcus Nelson. Then Potsus, back-to-back drives, gut-cut drives to the basketball. The first one by Nelson, and then Potsus comes right back through the contact, uses the left with a good English. Big play out of Potsus in the ball game. The kid that had to step up in the absence of Henderson has done his job.
He's just matched his career high, Jimmy, 10. There's a new career high of 11, and he's given his team a 1-point lead. 68-67.
And if I'm Coach K, I keep Potsus right there on my hip and checking back in at the next time you need offense.
Let's see if the Wolfpack now can battle back from down a points. Atzer looking for a pick from McCauley, who now has 4 fouls, just in case this thing would go an extra stanza. That's big. He was the guy that fouled Potsus on that last play.
It's been McCauley, Atzer, and Costner.
Atzer for 3. His 4th 3 of the second half. 19 for the game for the senior, who might be in his last ball game in the ACC tournament. NC State back up by 2. Shire, the kick out to Nelson. Now it's Paulus, wide open triple. Shire got the rebound. A minute left. NC State by 2 over Duke.
Duke has won 23 of their past 24 games in this tournament. And they pull out another one.
Our 3rd nail biter in a row, and it's only day 1 in Tampa. 15 on the shot clock. Timeout. Duke.
Remember the last time out, Coach K drew up a magical play that got him a 3-point. Can he do it again?
Engin Atzur came in with 211 career threes, 4 in this half. None bigger than that one.
Boy, it's a great job of passing and a great job of a headhunter screen by Grant, a cross screen to free up Atzur. All night long, these guys in red have been terrific passing that basketball. And it's the post guys that play as passers. Costner and McCauley, Brad, time and time again, they are passing post in this ball game. The offense has stayed in the hands of Costner, McCauley, and Atzur. Grant and Fells have filled in a little bit for the most part. McCauley to Costner, Costner to Atzur, Atzur to McCauley. It's been a triangle, and that triangle has worked awfully well for NC State.
That shot by Atzur, that reverse layup, is one of the best shots we've maybe seen all year. But the 3-pointer he just hit, this is a guy that did not score in the first half. When we went to the locker room at halftime, we were talking about our Star Watch. He was in our Star Watch because he's the guy that runs this team, not because we thought he'd score a lot. He's got 19 points in the second half. I don't think he wants this to be his last ACC tournament game.
Not at all. He's a senior with ownership, and he's a senior with character, and you like those kind of guys to embrace the team and say, guys, whatever we have to do, let's advance one more time. And think about what's at stake in this ball game. Duke, they've won 7 of the last ACC tournaments. They've won 23 of their past 24 games in this tournament. Can they pull off the magic one more time and live to see another night? That's what's at stake right now with change to go.
No timeouts remaining for Duke, trailing by 2. They lost to Maryland and North Carolina to end the regular season, and now they're on the ropes against NC State. DeMarcus Nelson muscles one up and in, tie game.
Over the years, Duke, as good as anyone in the country, coming out of a timeout in late game, late clock situations and executing the play and scoring. It's happened twice in the last 3 minutes right now out of a Coach K timeout.
Boy, another tie game at 70. Here's the play Jimmy's talking about. DeMarcus Nelson says, I'm not going to be denied.
Well, a lot of times the out-of-bounds guy is the most dangerous guy. Nelson made the out-of-bounds pass and then stepped right back in, and all he was thinking was drive the left side of that lane because they've isolated me. A terrific execution on the board and bring it to the floor for the Duke Blue Devils when they had to have it.
There's the numbers on DeMarcus Nelson, almost a double-double. Can NC State upset Duke? We had an upset earlier today. The Maryland-Miami game. As we give you a look back, Miami's Jimmy Graham had 9 points and 7 rebounds, giving the Canes enough shots to build a big lead. And after a Maryland turnover, Dwayne Collins sent it in. 12 points, 12 boards for the day. 17-point day. Jack McClinton's jumper extended the lead. And Miami upset number 17 Maryland. Stopped Maryland's long winning streak, 67-62. As we said, as you take a look at the brackets, that game was a 1-point game with 23 seconds left. It was free throws at the end that made it the margin that it was. But North Carolina will take on Florida State, a 1-point winner on Al Thornton's free throw over Clemson. Maryland upset, and now a 70-70 game with 42 seconds remaining.
Brad, NC State 15 out of 20 in the second half, 75%. They're having one of those Villanova taking down Georgetown type halves in the ACC tournament.
And this guy with a ball in his hand has hit his last 7 shots. He might be the guy that takes it again. There's 7 seconds difference on the game clock and the shot clock.
Watch that 5 count.
Atzer now starting to drive on Paulus. Leaves it off for Costner. Down to 10 in the game. A 10 on the shot clock, I beg your pardon. Costner overplayed. He's going to pull up for the jumper. Missed it. Rebound loose. Atzer, 3. 5 seconds left. We might be going to overtime unless that shot goes, or was there a timeout? There was. Sidney Logan a timeout with 3.3 to go.
That's why you always have a timeout in your back pocket trying to close out a ball game. Sidney Lowe saw that the game was scrambled. They did not have a good shot coming. So the former point guard, thinking now as a head coach, steps in to influence this ball game with a timeout. Now can they drop a play like Duke has done twice in the last 3 minutes?
Got a good look, didn't they? Yeah, Costner got a 15-footer that was short. And then the ball loose. Atzer missed the 3. And then Grant. Right there, the timeout was called before that turnaround jumper by Grant.
And that's Sidney Lowe, the former point guard, realizing not a good situation. Grant is not a terrific shooter. He's not a great guy off the bounce. So he steps in and calls a timeout now. Can NC State duplicate what Duke has done twice in this ball game in the last 3 minutes? Take a set play from the chalkboard in the huddle, bring it to the floor, and execute to get a game-winning shot.
They've got plenty of time. 3.3 is an eternity. I mean, they can run a set play that might have as many as 2 to 3 passes. It's not like they have to launch a 3. All they have to do is either get to the free throw line or use the paint as effectively as they have the whole game. If they can sneak one down low, Zubek's going to come in for Duke with a little more size defensively, along with McRoberts, Paulus, Shire, and DeMarcus Nelson. We haven't seen NC State break their huddle yet, but we assume it's going to be the same guys we always see because they don't have many that they can put out there.
Henderson is a lockdown defender. He's not available again, serving the 1-game suspension, a big part of this ball game. I like the substitution of Zubek. He can influence the out-of-bounds guy, and he can stop something easy around the rim.
Here's your game in regulation. 3.3 left. Gavin Grant will inbound. Atzer, McCauley, Costner, and Fells are all on the floor for NC State. Brian Kersey will hand the ball off, and we'll see if NC State can pull a stunner in regulation. Grant waiting for Fells. Fells, long ball. Didn't go. Tipped by Atzer, and it almost went in. We're going to overtime. Atzer up in midair just swatted it like a volleyball, hoping he could kiss it off the glass. He did.
Brad, I'm a little surprised about the last play of NC State to take Fells and run him off to the corner. This is a guy that has not been involved in the offense the entire second half. I would have trusted McCauley, Costner, or Atzer, the big triangle, to try to finish off the game. But still, time to go.
We're not done yet. We'll be back with overtime.
How good is championship week right now? We're headed to overtime on ESPN2. Over on ESPN in the Big East, West Virginia and Louisville tie game. Closing seconds, Darius Nichols hits for the Mountaineers, but watch this. Edgar Sosa right back for Louisville. The Red Sea parts for them. They go to overtime. It's 62-60 in favor of the Mountaineers.
All right, Dave, last overtime game, the championship game in 04, when we said that was the only year in the last 8 that Duke didn't win the ACC championship. Maryland beat them in OT, and now we're in overtime. 70 apiece between North Carolina State and the Duke Blue Devils, ranked 21st in the country. This has been everything we asked for, partner, and a little bit more, and I think Duke's thinking that right now. They'll take the overtime because that was plenty of time. I'm not sure about the shot selection and the play call, but hey, you know, that's what they had to work with. So Fells with a baseline jumper, and Atzer almost got the follow.
Yeah, he did. Atzer has willed his club now into an overtime. Again, a senior with character for NC State. And if you're Duke right now, the bench is short. It's been short all game long. Henderson, not a lockdown defender, not available, not an explosive scorer. Can they find a way to keep their streak alive in the ACC tournament? They've won 7 of the last 8. They've won 23 out of the last 24 games. A lot at stake, a lot of history being made right now in the ACC tournament tonight.
Remember, McClure fouled out in regulation. Dave McClure, who started the ball game tonight. DeMarcus Nelson's got 4 fouls for Duke, and I mentioned Macaulay and Grant and Fells all have 4 fouls for North Carolina State. That's what you've got to keep in mind when you hit an overtime period and you don't have a big bench or a deep bench, and neither team has that tonight. So we're just about set for overtime. McRoberts and Macaulay will start things off. And a little over 2 hours ago we started. We're right back where we started, only 140 points later.
Think about this. If you're trying to win the ACC tournament, you have to play on the first day.
You don't want to play overtime.
You don't want to play an overtime game. So that means you got to play 4 games plus 5 minutes to win the whole tournament.
Duke will have the first possession of OT.
Three-man weave up top has been good to Duke in this ball game.
Nelson from 18 couldn't get it. Macaulay the rebound.
The triangle, Atzer, Costner, and Macaulay. I think that's who you trust the basketball with right now if you're Sidney Lowe.
Atzer was looking for a pick and roll. He almost threw the ball. Macaulay, who wasn't breaking to the basket. Costner is, though, and McRoberts fouled it. And now Josh McRoberts has 4 fouls.
And Brad, it came from 2 parts of the triangle, Atzer to Costner. Macaulay's the 3rd part because he's occupying the defense on the low block. Those are the 3 guys that have carried this team, and it's a good start to the overtime by NC State to go back to what got them into the overtime. Those 3 studs.
Costner now a chance for a 3-point play. He's got 25 points. Looking for number 26. His career high is 27. And he got it. 26 for Brandon Costner. 3-point NC State lead. There's the foul situation for both teams. And that means a lot when you're in overtime. Paulus on a drive. Nobody cut him off. Easy bucket for Greg Paulus, and Greg's got 18.
We're getting a nice hip screen by McRoberts to hold his ground and shield off his defender to open up the alley for Paulus.
Fells almost walked with it, dumps it down to Costner, muscled it up there, and he's going to go to the free throw line. Is it on McRoberts? No, it's not. It's on Paulus.
Brad, watch McRoberts right here step in and seal, and that seal right there creates the driving alley or the avenue for Greg Paulus. You don't get an assist for that play if you're McRoberts, but if you're Paulus and Coach K and the rest of the Dukies, you say, hey, nice assist, because that's just as good as a pass.
1 short of his career high. Brandon Costner. And has matched it now. And that career high was against University of North Carolina Wilmington. With all due respect to North Carolina Wilmington, this is Duke he's doing it against.
Costner, a former McDonald's All-American. That's 1 on the floor for NC State. Duke brought 6 of those into the gym tonight.
And he's got a new career high. 28 for Brandon Costner. on the all-freshman team. Maybe thinks he should have been the freshman of the year. He's playing like a veteran right now, I'll tell you that much. We're down at 3:35 in overtime. And it's a 3-point NC State lead.
But Shire's been a little quiet in this second half.
Paulus double team. McRoberts had a look, and now he's going to drive and just go over everybody. There's some authority from McRoberts.
Forget that finesse stuff in overtime. Attack that rim with a purpose.
You know, he inhaled at the top of the circle like, here comes the engine, and I'm full of steam. And he did roll all the way to the rack. Big time slam, and NC State almost turned it over. And Grant couldn't find anybody to pass it to, so he buries it on the baseline.
He's a trustable guy from about 12 to 15 feet. Caught it, shot it with a nice rhythm. And can that big play by McRoberts, those 2 points, become maybe 4 or 6? That was a huge momentum bucket by Duke.
Paulus, 2.5 minutes remaining. His team is down by 3. Here's McRoberts. Around and over McCauley.
Just stay
That's what
with
Jimmy's
it.
talking about.
Just stay with it until they stop that Josh McRoberts. Just stay with it.
Approaching 2 minutes in overtime. North Carolina State 77, Duke 76. First round of the ACC tournament. What a day it's been already. Georgia Tech and Wake Forest yet to come in the nightcap as McCauley with the left hand.
No double team, no double down again by Duke on a touch by Costner and McCauley. I know they're afraid to do it because they're great passers, but at some point you got to make an adjustment because they're just ripping you up right now.
Under 2 minutes in OT. McRoberts has been the hot hand, the guy that Duke's going to. He's thinking about going again, but he'll kick it out on top to Paulus. 15 on the shot clock. Paulus pull up 3, in and out. Rebound comes off to Gavin Grant, who just hit a big jumper on the other end. 3-point NC State lead, 1.5 minutes to go in overtime.
Brad, I like the shot out of Paulus. He was in rhythm. He's a 45% three-point shooter. It's a good, clean look.
Atzer's going to calmly use some clock. And then the bounce pass to McCauley, and he's fouled. How about that pass? And if that's DeMarcus Nelson's foul, he's gone.
You talk about a smooth operator, Ingen Atzer, playing the game at the speed he wants to play it. You can pressure him and do all you want, and all he's going to do is turn his backside to you as a pressure release. His vision as a passer.
Remember when I said foul trouble can be huge if you go to overtime? Well, DeMarcus Nelson's the second Duke starter to foul out.
Duke takes their 30.
Did you see the tempo that he came with that basketball as a passer?
It was so slow motion
Yes.
until the pass itself had smoke on it.
Yes, that's a. You know what? He plays the game with different speeds. His feet are one speed. His passing speed is another speed. When he wants to go to the basket, he can turn it on just a little bit. He's not a jet, but he's got change of pace ability about his game.
Number 5, Marty Oaksus.
Look at this. Bam, on top of you.
Well, it's going to be on McRoberts and Paulus' shoulders now because DeMarcus Nelson's gone. And there's another great look at a man slam. Wow. But 2 Duke players have fouled out. DeMarcus Nelson joining Dave McClure. And at the free throw line has been McCauley on the other end. And he's got it. McCauley, a 65% free throw shooter. And believe it or not, it's the first time he's been there tonight.
Pretty efficient offense out of NC State in the overtime. 3 out of 3 and no turnovers.
They haven't missed a field goal or a free throw so far. McCauley trying to keep that string alive. Got 1 of 2, and McRoberts with a rebound. 4-point game, matching the biggest lead of the night for NC State in overtime. McRoberts, can he come to the rescue? They bring it back out onside. Shire on a drive. McRoberts under 1 minute in overtime. No place to go, turns around and comes up short on a jumper, and Costner's got the rebound. NC State by 4 with 50 seconds left in overtime. A shocker in the making. Atzer guarded closely by Paulus, and a foul on Paulus. And Atzer will go to the free throw line.
And And the un-Duke-like season continues in this tournament. Playing for the first time since 1995 on the first day of the tournament. Coming in with 2 losses into the ACC tournament, and their string of 23 of the past 24 is in great jeopardy right now with 43 seconds to go.
Here's the old man on the floor for both teams, knocking down his 20th point of this half. Brandon Costner on the other side, the young guy, 28 points for NC State. And Atzer can make it 21, and he does. And now it's 82-76, still 2 possessions, but Duke needs points, and they need them in a hurry. Paulus lost the handle, knocked away from behind. There's about a 8-second difference on the shot clock and the game clock. I think that's irrelevant at this point. I just thought I'd point it out to you because Duke's got to score and score in a hurry. They lob it underneath. Chance for a 3-point play for Potsus. Potsus has got 13 and a chance for what they needed, a 3-point play.
They tried the lob play to McRoberts. Duke did a good job of keeping the ball alive right there. The pass is a little underthrown, and McRoberts makes a great play to keep the ball alive, taps it to Potsus. How big has this guy been in this ball game, Brad? In the absence of Henderson, he has stepped up just like Coach K said he needed to do. He told us an hour before the game, this is the guy that has to step up tonight in the absence of Gerald Henderson.
And he has, and he's got the 3-point play, 14 for Potsus, and it's back to a 3-point lead is all. Backcourt pressure. Atzer, they're going to try to trap him. He's going to try to dribble outside of Thomas. Got it to Grant. Back to Atzer. They haven't broken the timeline yet. Now they have. And now Grant. And he's fouled. Gavin Grant is a 76% free throw shooter, but tonight he's only 2 for 4 from the stripe. A 1-possession game so far. And a tie game going on in the West Virginia-Louisville game. This one's been tied a bunch of times, including at the end of regulation at 70. We're in overtime with 25 seconds remaining.
You got a ton of guys on this floor on both teams that have logged a lot of minutes in this ball game because of short benches. They have played their hearts out, as well you should.
There's going to be some sore legs and some sore feelings for whoever has to lose this one.
Feelings will hurt worse than the legs.
Grant, 1 of 2, but still, it's a 2-possession game.
Just need quick points. A 2 or 3, either one is good right now for Duke, but they got to be quick.
Down to 15 seconds. Paulus, the lead for McRoberts, and he's fouled by Costner. So now it's going to be Josh McRoberts on his shoulders to go to the free throw line for the very first time tonight. With all the work he's done on the inside, that seems amazing that both he and McCauley have made their first trips to the free throw line in overtime. Josh is a 66% free throw shooter.
And you've heard me talk about it before. At this stage in the ball game, it's not so much how good of a free throw shooter are you, it's how tough are you. McRoberts has shown me some toughness in this ball game the last 10 minutes.
Boy, in this half, he's been remarkable. He only had 2 points at halftime. Part of that was because of foul trouble and not the normal amount of minutes he would get in a half, but his determination in the second half, you can see it written all over his face.
NC State has a timeout now. If they have to use it,
almost tipped in. And a foul. That was almost tipped in by Lance Thomas, which would have been a huge play. Would have made it a 1-point game.
Almost a critical mistake by NC State to not step into the legs on the free throw miss with a purpose. You're going to see it happen right here. 42 just gets a nice push inside, and Costner doesn't step with a purpose into the legs of 42 in white, and it almost cost him big time.
Costner to the free throw line. If he hits these 2, it probably puts NC State over the top in this game, and it probably puts him on the ACC All-Tournament team regardless of what might happen tomorrow. And he rips point number 29.
Sidney Lowe about to put an end to that streak that Duke has been hammering folks in this tournament over the last 8 years.
I wonder if Sid's flashing back to 24 years ago saying, you know what, I remember when I was a pretty good player in this tournament. I think he's enjoying the moment right now. 30 for Costner, 5-point NC State lead. Duke needs a 3 and a timeout with 11 seconds remaining. Well, I thought there was a timeout call. Maybe there wasn't. Maybe the officials stopped play. They're going to bring the ball way back into the backcourt.
Josh, you can run, okay?
I like the communication right there out of the official. Because the basket was made, McRoberts, because there's an error made in the officiating, he can still run the baseline. Good communication from official to player.
Under 10 seconds. Paulus drives, lays it up off the glass, too high. NC State the rebound. Paulus the foul. The Wolfpack 5 seconds away from a stunner on day one. And now the NC State fans know it. So does the team. Wow. What a turn of events here. 3 upsets in day one. I don't know which one's bigger, Miami over Maryland or what's about to happen right now.
I think it's this one right here. I understand the absence of Henderson was a major, major story in this ball game. When it happened on Sunday, you and I looked at each other and said, uh-oh, look out on Thursday night, what could happen? And it has come to fruition.
Grant probably doesn't even have to make this next free throw. 5 seconds is not a lot of time for Duke to get it down court. And they are down 5. If it was a 3-point game, it would be a difference. It is 5. McRoberts gets the rebound. Dribbling up court. Final couple seconds. Runner for him won't go. NC State is picked off. Number 21 Duke in day one in Tampa.
And I go back to Sidney Lowe on Saturday when they lost at Maryland. He kept his club in the locker room for 30 minutes and drove home the point as a former NC State player. We are not going to go to Tampa with this same kind of effort. I think he started that victory that afternoon in the locker room up in College Park, Maryland.
I don't know if you folks at home were keeping track and you opened up your ACC tournament bracket or ripped it out of the newspaper and said, okay, here's what's going to happen. Florida State's going to play North Carolina. Probably not what you were thinking. Miami's going to play Boston College. I know you weren't thinking that. And NC State's going to play Virginia. You didn't think that either, did you? Boy, Georgia Tech better watch out for Wake Forest in the nightcap tonight. That's going to wrap it up. What an overtime thriller. NC State wins it 85-80. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more on this game, join Jimmy and I shortly on ESPN News for a post-game extra. For Jimmy Dykes and our entire ESPN2 crew, Brad Nessler saying so long from Tampa. Let's head it back to the studio. Dave Revson. Dave, whew, we had a good one here, partner.